Thank you, Mr. President. The UN estimates that the number of people forcibly displaced in the world is over 65 million. So the 4 million in Europe of internally displaced persons is but a sideshow of a major world problem. And it's a major world problem that includes all refugees. I think that given the situations which have caused the displacement of people, it is unlikely that the protagonists in this are simply going to roll over and accept what the report asks for. There is going to be violations of human rights. And I think we need to recognise the confused states of the area we are talking about and the absence of any effective monitoring. So where I think that a balance needs to be struck within this report is between the overall setting of a framework and the effective implementation of that framework. And I think it is quite legitimate to try to set a framework and to draw a line in the sand. But the expectation should not be high that there won't be contraventions. And if one looks at the situation in Ukraine, for example, the report makes two recommendations of the Russian Federation. The first of these is to refrain from supplying weapons which are likely to exacerbate the situation for those who are displaced. The second is to allow in humanitarian observers. Personally, and I would like to be proved wrong here, I don't think the Russians are really going to play ball in this. But I'd hoped that in this report we would concentrate more on the practical steps that we were going to take to try to implement those lofty and high-meaning recommendations that we have put there. And I don't think just relying on the ECHR and the outcomes of the ECHR is enough in that. And quite frankly, I think in many cases they will simply be ignored. Now, the problem, I mentioned Ukraine because the problem in Ukraine is the most serious in Europe, with the highest number of displaced persons. And if we can get that situation right, we will be on a good course to getting it right across the whole of Europe. But the solution to this lies with a much more emphasis on ending the conflicts rather than seem to be continuing with the occupation of the conflicts and being seen simply to reinforce the reasons that have created the displaced persons in the first place. And I think that from that point of view, we need to do a lot more to show that we are really concerned about the implementation and the practical steps that can be taken. And this report does mention practical steps. It mentions the use of satellite imagery to help this. And I think I would like to see more of that sort of thing in this report.